We all have ideas. We have many ideas. But what makes a difference is someone who takes the idea and implements it. So if you have an idea, if you want to start something, you have a startup, how do you take this idea and implement it, make it into a big success? Sundeep is our guest today, and he's someone who came up with an idea sitting on the beach in Miami and make it into a very successful large business in the health tech world. You're going to really unmask the thinking behind what it takes to implement an idea into actions, into results. Enjoy. Hey, Sundeep.
Hey, Boaz.
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm really happy to be here.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Thank you. I know, we're friends, so it's funny. Like you and I spend so much time talking to each other, or
Yes.
cycling, or like going for coffee. But it's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank
so
you.
I want to jump right in. So, why is your company existing? I mean, it's a big question, but it's just explain to us your business.
Yeah, I mean, it's we say it's to unlock the power of data to improve health. So Jason and I, we started the company together. We're two co-founders, and he's a doctor and
Like an MD?
MD,
Yep.
family practice, practiced for like 7 years. And for him, it was like being able to help more than one patient at a time. So he wanted to have bigger impact. I have built and sold a couple of businesses in health tech, always did work in health tech. I was pre-med a long time ago. So also one of my personal missions in life is to have impact in health at scale.
Mm-hmm.
So both of us decided we're like, let's do something big, leveraging technology, because that's how you get scale. And that really helps people with their health.
So let me just get it. So you didn't know what business you're going to have. You had, first of all, commitment to make an impact on health.
Yeah.
And that's how you, so did you then start this journey looking for a business?
Yeah.
Okay. That's,
Pretty much.
that's rare. That's not very common. Most people have like, I want to open a restaurant. I want to, do digital marketing, whatever it is. And then they do the path. You said, now I have a mission. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know where it's going to go, but I want to start. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was both of us had done startup stuff before. So this time around, we started with an idea, let's say my previous company, and then thought about like, what's the real mission here? This time around, we're like, if you start with the mission, then, all the ups and downs, all the things that you have in an entrepreneurial journey, like you can live through all that.
And were you agnostic? I mean, you just like, I have a mission. I'm just going to, go out there and see where it's going to lead me?
I mean, that was kind of the high level idea. But we then got very specific around opportunities within healthcare, within data. We looked at, it was actually, we were sitting around, I think we were in Miami at the time, just hanging out, talking about, what exact business we're going to do. And we kept going back to this idea. He kept saying, when I see patients after I get all these results from the lab, and I have to sit there and look at those results in order to decide what's going on with those patients. So the diagnosis and treatment decisions, like that's the most important data that he would look at. Mm-hmm. We took a step back and we said, the industry isn't really doing anything with lab data.
So lab data, explain to me, because I know nothing about that world. So are you saying that there's stuff that the lab is testing, but it's almost not relevant to, in this example, your co-founder partner, right? So you said, I look at only, let's say, 5 things, but the lab is actually checking 20 things.
Yeah.
So is that the question? Like, what happened to the other 15 things?
Yeah. So, I mean, what we do as a business, I shared the high level sort of vision. It's we're a healthcare data marketplace. And we were the first company to organize lab data across many different sources and partners into one organized large data set.
So I'm simple.
Yeah.
So walk me. Are you a library of data? Is that what it is when you say?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're a marketplace, so we have
lab
partners. So all these labs that have data,
Yeah.
we're helping organize all of this data into one large data set. And then companies that want to use that data to do like drug discovery, to understand what's happening with the patient population, which way diseases are trending, to understand, where there are patients that need certain therapies. All of that can be informed using lab data.
Okay, so I'm going to pause again just for me to understand. So a lab collects information. I go to the doctor says, go do a blood test. I do a blood test, just to really simplify it.
Yeah.
Then my doctor might use some of that data, but the data is being added to that data center, or library of things. A third party that has nothing to do with me says, look, I want to know people in their 50s.
Yeah.
Okay, male, 50s, So they will use my information for other things that is not directly related to what my doctor looked at.
Yeah, I mean, your doctor is treating you.
Yes.
So they have the information they need to treat you. The use cases that we look at are when you want to look at an entire population. So when you want to look at millions of people that have diabetes and you want to see how that disease is trending over time, like what does that journey look like for that patient? When did they first get it? So or different cancers and rare diseases. When you want to understand things at a population level, then you want to look at large data sets.
And current labs,
that's where we play.
That's where you play.
Yeah.
And you scrape away the personal information. So
we actually never bring any personal information into our systems.
So when a lab and I'm sorry, I'm stuck on it, but I just want to understand. So when the lab takes the information from me, when you collect it, I'm just a male, 53 years old.
Exactly.
That's it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
There's tokens.
Yeah.
That represent the patients.
Yeah.
But we don't need for the use cases. We don't need to know who it is. We just need to know like what diseases they are, and then we look at it at scale.
And the benefit for the customer is the pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
The benefit for the customers are the fact that you have accumulated information without them spending the money on R&D. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's very fragmented. I actually just wrote this article recently that we published, is on the fragmentation of, healthcare system in general in the US is very fragmented. It's very local. So if you want to look at anything at a national level, you have thousands of companies that are providing care. It could be, there's like 600,000-700,000 doctors practicing all around the US. So all the data is like siloed. If you have labs, similarly, if you include hospital labs, there's thousands of labs. So for anybody that wants to look at this data in the aggregate at scale, they would have to go to all of these different partners to be able to do that. We already did all that heavy lifting.
So the heavy lifting is you have literally knocked on doors of different labs and say, give me the information.
Yes.
Did you pay them for that?
Yeah, there's a revenue share.
Okay, every time a third party will use this information, both the lab that collect the information, you as the data center or whatever the processors share that profit. So this benefits the lab also.
Everybody benefits. The patient really benefits because they're getting the right treatment, they're getting the right therapy. The pharma companies benefit because they're getting their therapies to the right patients. They're finding patients that are right for clinical trials. Labs are providing a service, and this generates additional profits for them. So it's really a win-win-win all around.
Oh, it sounds okay. Yeah. It sounds like a simple idea,
Yeah.
Again, which is amazing, right?
Simple is hard.
Exactly. That's true. Exactly. The simpler it is, the harder it is. Where was the? So I have a few questions. One is, where was the challenge in the beginning? Is it convincing the labs to share the information? Is it accumulating the data and processing it, or is it the third party convincing or showing the value to the pharmaceuticals to buy it from you?
That's amazing. All of the above. No, really, it was. But you had to do all three. Those were the three things that you had to figure out.
That's one challenge. Marketplaces. Marketplaces is basically three businesses. I know because I ran one and I failed with it. So one, you have customers to you, pay or the other side, vendors to you and customers to you, and then you have between the two, so it's three businesses. Yeah. So all of them were challenging.
Yeah, you have to have enough partners, and it's also chicken and the egg, right? You have to have enough partners that you have comprehensive data. So then when you go to a client, it's worth their while to work with you because they're going to get something that is comprehensive.
So do you put it aside? Did you say, I'm going to knock on X amount of labs doors first, and only when I have whatever the amount is, then I'm going to start talking to pharmaceuticals or any other one?
Yeah. We actually started in a whole different business that we sold off around 8 years ago. That was a platform that was overseeing testing. That's how we understood the value of the lab data. And then we sold that off to a private equity fund that a friend of mine did like a buyout from us into that new entity and did really well with that. And then we focused on the lab data analytics and the marketplace piece.
So when you were sitting in Miami,
Yeah.
was it before the first the previous company, or was it like on this with this one
Yeah, it was actually
before?
previous one. And that we bought a business. A doctor had started this lab testing business that we acquired, and that's how we got started. And then we understood that there's all this underlying data that could be really valuable. And we grew that first business, sold it, and then we focused on the lab data piece of it.
It's like
So
you're
that's
you're like Columbus. You're like, you thought you're going to go to India, right? And you're like, I'm going to raise money to go to India, and then on the way you found the Americas, right? So you did not know that it's going to go that way, right?
I mean, I think every company, right? I mean, you
well,
have.
I don't know if you make sneakers, right? It's like if you do something that's very like you make chocolate bars, you know you're going to sell those. You know, you're making T-shirts. You know, so I don't know if you go like, I'm going to be in the clothing
That's
industry.
true.
So I
maybe in tech. I mean, I remember reading. I don't know if this is 100% true, but even
as long as you say it with a conviction,
Google,
it's going to be true.
Google started. I think the search that has fueled like all the growth of Google. I think they started that as it was an appliance that they were trying to sell to Fortune 500 companies as software to install on their intranets to look for information within their company.
Yeah. Or Facebook, the same. Like
it's
connection between college kids, exactly.
And then, I mean, look at what's happening now with AI. I mean, everybody has to reinvent themselves.
Yes.
Like Google has to reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
Because search may become obsolete.
Yeah.
Like all the SEO stuff you see, like traffic's just disappearing.
Exactly. I don't use Google. I just go, Yeah, that's true. We will talk about AI more. But I love the vision first, and then finding what's the best path or the most efficient or the opportunities in the. It's I don't hear it very often. I must tell you.
Yeah.
So, how much was I don't know if you get, how many lab did you had to get enrolled in your data before you knocked on the doors of the pharmaceuticals?
Yeah. So what we ended up doing there was kind of similar to what Uber did. They started in one city. Like we had to narrow like the field to something because like I said, it's a chicken and the egg problem. So what we did was we went to one lab for one disease only. And we just said, if we have access to, because they weren't going to give us, all their data. So they said, okay, we'll give you as a pilot one disease area, the testing data for that. So we took that, we organized it, then went to the clients that it would be useful for. So our first couple of deals, one was in a cancer and one was in a rare disease. And we still have that rare disease client all these years later. And that was for hereditary angioedema was the condition. Yeah.
I don't know what it is. What is it?
It's like you get these swelling attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So we just got those 2 data sets and there was enough value. We organized all that data and then we got our first couple of clients. So we kind of did it one disease at a time.
Yeah. And now are you now you collect as much data as possible?
Yeah. At this point we have reached scale.
Yeah.
So we have something anywhere you need to look at biomarkers or genetic, data, molecular diagnostics data, any different sort of lab testing and diagnostics data. We have it at scale at this point that there's value for pretty much any customer that has drugs in market or developing drugs where, they can utilize that. So now we have potentially 700 customers that we're going after.
Yeah.
That would get value from what we're doing.
Okay, so that's a great bridge to AI.
Yes.
It's probably gonna completely mess up, revolutionize, disturb, whatever the right word to use. I don't think any of us have the right word in your industry, especially when it comes to data collection. Are you ready? Are you prepared?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's There are a couple of factors. I think one is internally, how you can use it to be more efficient. So we have been using it, and even before, this recent kind of craze of AI, we started using it really to process all of this data and to organize it using machine learning and some of these tools. We had some really smart mathematician type people that helped us do that. And then Jason and Evan, who's our CTO, they have been leading this effort on how do we become more and more efficient. So we've tripled the amount of data in the last couple of years. We've doubled the number of customers in the last couple of years.
And that's because of AI or because of growth?
No, but we've done that without really having to hire more people.
Oh, I got you.
So we've become, all of us, more efficient.
Yeah.
We actually have less people in the company today than we did, let's say, a couple of years ago.
But you're double the size or triple the size.
Yeah. And so I think, one, I'm just blown away by that. And that's tangible. I can see it. That's from our developers using, different technologies, AI-based technologies that's helping them code, to marketing, creating content, all kinds of things. Everything that every function.
So you're doing much more with much less because of machine learning and AI.
Yes.
So that's kind of the immediate, tangible element impact.
Yeah. And we really are a tech company. We operate in healthcare, but we're a tech company first, right? So we really encourage our people. We're giving them small budgets to license tools and play around with it. I think the thing we decided to do earlier this year was that if, and that's my advice to anybody with AI, it's just jump in head first. Because if you want to be relevant and stay relevant, the better you can use it, the more proficient you are with using different tools with AI, the better.
Okay, so do you? Here's what I'm thinking about. I agree with you. And in my kids' school, college and high school, they feel the opposite.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you to wear two hats because I know you're also a father.
Yeah.
One is you're saying if we were in front of a bunch of entrepreneurs, which is entrepreneurs who most people will listen to this, you say, look, dive in, play with it, spend the money, spend the time. If you want to be relevant, you have to learn this tool.
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah.
When do you start that process? Do you think that schools are wrong about telling our kids not to use AI?
Yeah. I mean, I think, look, there's no easy answer because there's this whole debate of if they're going to use just AI, will they still develop some of those core foundational skills?
And thinking. I think the biggest concern of the school is that they're worried that it's going to replace thinking.
Yeah.
But it's ignoring the reality.
Yeah, the reality is that, I'll ask you, if you're going to hire someone, you're interviewing candidates for a role, and you have two candidates, similar education, similar background, and one has all this AI experience, and one doesn't.
It's a no-brainer.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and there's many studies that smart people with AI are by far more effective than smart people without, or dumb people with AI. So that currently, but it's changing so fast.
Yeah.
Currently, you need both. You need a smart person with AI tool.
Agree.
Yeah.
So I have two kids in college, and I think that what I'm hearing from them and the professors there is that they are now changing their stance from even a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now they're they want them to use it because I think they realize that, and all these schools now have AI majors, and they have to embrace it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, even the universities will go obsolete.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So
exactly. Look,
everything's getting disrupted.
All right. So go back to
healthcare.
Healthcare. So obviously, AI is gonna made your personal company become more effective, more efficient.
Yeah.
What about the data collecting? And because I spoke with someone who has a marketing company, and they do marketing research. They get those rooms with 20 people. They let them, and he said to me, "Look, we'll be dead in 3 years because that kind of I need a tip, a women between 30 and 35 from this income, and they all try this new whatever power bar, and let's see what they think about it. It's like, AI, you could just type in whatever they think, it gives you an answer and gets so much smarter and smarter, right?
Right.
So do you think there'll be a moment where pharmaceuticals say, I don't need to go to that data collecting because I have so much data already?
Yeah, I mean, I think the data is fueling the AI revolution, right? You need to have all this real world data to train algorithms, right?
It's
and you're
large
gonna,
language model, as of the language.
Exactly.
The data is the language, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I see lots of growth for need for data. Like that will continue to grow because all these applications and agents and all the things that are being built right now, in order for them, to be efficient and, to really become useful, they need to be based on real, what we call real world data, which is in healthcare, like the data that's like from actual clinical interaction. So I think that will continue. And then the question is, I think what will happen in healthcare. So I think this is going to be amazing for healthcare. In many ways. First of all, we know that there's a huge shortage of physicians and providers. And so right now, if you want to try to get an appointment with a specialist, doesn't matter where, like here, access, it's really hard.
Yeah.
They're backlogged. There are only so many doctors. Mental health, huge issues. So I think that in the first wave of it, you're going to have a lot of tools that will make healthcare professionals more productive. They will just, same way like we're seeing efficiencies within Prognos, you're going to see at different practices, hospitals, everywhere as they start to use these tools.
They'll be able to see more patients, you think?
Or they can spend more time with each
patient. So it's either the quality or the quantity, both will be impacted.
Quality should go up because you'll be able to do a lot of like the mundane back of the office. Like right now, doctors have to take all these notes. Like I can tell you, like from, again, in our company, like all the meetings that we're having, now we're using some AI agents that are recording everything, making notes, giving us like, and same thing, So I think if all of that work, which takes up a lot of the time for these physicians right now, it's automated, AI is doing a lot of that stuff, then they can really focus on the patient. Like that doesn't go away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the empathy of that provider, the physician, the nurse, you need that. And I think as humans, we will crave that even more, especially with, everything being digital and virtual.
Of course.
I think so that could be a great impact. And then also, if you think about medicine is one area, like we go to a doctor and you're getting really that one person's opinion. Or if you go to, especially in mental health, there's some amazing therapists out there, but there are also some really terrible therapists out there. So, you're getting advice week after week, let's say. So I think it will raise the bar and the basic kind of advice that people will get, because these professionals will be able to use these tools. And, already in many specialties, they're saying like AI is better than the average professional, and getting better and better, faster.
And the accumulation of knowledge, I think that's the biggest thing, because like people go, you deal with something major like cancer, you say, oh, let's get a second opinion. Mm-hmm. AI is 1,000 opinions, not just a second opinion. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And
I think the other thing is also customizing to the needs, because even though we are the same age, male, but your needs will be very different than mine. So I think one of the things I hear from what you're saying and also from others is that the ability to really tailor what you need, the medicine is going to be different between robotics and machine learning and AI. You'll be able to modify the medicine to your need versus to my need, even though we're the same age and
I mean, it's precision medicine, like down very precise to the individual. And when you can look at data for millions of people in that disease area, you can start to see those patterns.
Yeah. Right? Wow. Well, that's exciting. What's the bad news?
The bad news? I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's
No, maybe
obviously
there
the
aren't, maybe
scenario.
there-
Well,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
I mean, I think like the big question is, okay, so the biggest problems in the world get solved, right? AI and all this stuff is solving energy. It's solving food issues. It's solving what are we all gonna do? We're gonna have a lot more time.
But okay, so that's a deep philosophical question.
Yes,
When you
it's
look at your staff, when you look at yourself, let me ask you this way: Are you going to be relevant? I mean, if it can be on the cloud and an AI does all the collection.
Yeah.
So someone's going to come set up your company. It's labs are going to automatically share it because AI will talk to each other. There's a library of data that is there. Pharmaceuticals or the eye of pharmaceuticals are going to learn that you can move back. You can go back to Miami for they're coming up with the next idea of the next business.
Yeah, I mean, I think people, again, going back to the human interaction, I think we will have more time to think and time to really think about. And I think a lot of these tools can be utilized in even going deeper in whatever topic. Really, I mean, I don't know. It's so much fun. Sometimes I play around with this. Pick the ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever. The kids get really annoyed, but I push the thing and I have a conversation.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
It is fascinating.
And you can just go deeper and deeper and you're learning. Just how amazing is that?
Yes,
if you're curious
really
and you love to learn you can learn about anything.
I love playing with it. I do it every day. I run every email, pretty much almost every email through it. Unfortunately, it still doesn't connect properly to my emails, but because I'm not a tech guy. So I'm asking myself, and I want to bring into this conversation, am I scared because I hear all those fears, or should we just go with it? Because the biggest thing is that when I think about it is that we had major jumps in technology over, let's say 5,000 years, whether it's moving from gather and hunters to to agriculture, et cetera, right? But we never created a tool that creates its own tools.
Yeah.
So when we found fire, whatever, 150,000 years ago, whatever, probably I'm wrong about the time, to use fire for the first time actually as a tool, or whether it's machines, in the Industrial Revolution, or computers, probably 50, 60 years ago, they were never creating their own machines. And this time, this one creates own. So I'm really baffled by it. It's really, so I'm happy to hear that you're just excited and I'm not pushing back. I'm just
I just don't think there's a limit on the upper limit. I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic about everything. So generally, right?
Well, there's no doubt that our kids are going to live in a very different world. And they're already.
Hopefully we will.
Yes.
I think the rate at which it's changing, 10 years, 20 years.
The question will be a better world or not. It's going to be different. The question is better. There's all those illusions, the internet is going to democratize the entire world. And then we realize it's not, because humans kind of control the internet, right? So it's a great question that I don't know. There's many point of views about it. I don't know if someone knows it. Is it going to make things better, or is it going to make things faster, more knowledgeable, et cetera? What?
I think we're going to be able to tackle problems that we don't even know we have yet.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. We're just going to be able to elevate things beyond this planet. There's no upper limit. All the stuff that Musk talks about and multi-planetary, all of that.
You're not talking about the Donald Trump tweet about him being at parties with.
I'm talking about really going to, exploring the whole galaxy. What's stopping us from doing that right now? If we can solve those things, then where's the limit? I don't know.
That's a great question. My very small mind understanding is that humans love problems. We love solving problems.
Yeah.
But every problem of ours causes another problem. So the problem that our grandparents dealt with is that they wanted to see their family.
Yeah.
And it was really far. So they take a boat or a train or horse and buggies, right? And then we found a solution called cars or transportation. That caused a new problem called environmental issues, right? So every problems we solve is the beginning of a new problem of the future. So the question, what problem are we going to deal with?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay, cool.
I think we're going to solve some really cool things, and then new problems.
That's true. It's very exciting.
New problems will start.
Okay, so I want to go back. You said that you saw an opportunity with your co-founder. You saw, look, here's what you're dealing with as a doctor, your co-founder, and here's a problem. Let's find a solution for it. If I'm simplifying what you said, right? Is it something that you always do, or is it something you always think about, like the big picture, and then you're like, let me figure out how the hell to get there? Or
no, I mean, it depends. Sometimes you think of something, a problem that you faced or you've dealt with, and you want to create a solution for that problem, and then you can think of like, okay, if I solve that problem, like how big can this solution be? But I didn't always
which is a
think
tech
like
way
this.
of thinking, right? Like,
Yeah, I
here's
mean,
a
when
problem.
I was a young entrepreneur, like I didn't think about, like this time around, we thought about like big or bigger.
But you more mature. It was after a few exits or a few companies you succeeded, failed, whatever
After
it is.
a lot of failures.
A lot of failures,
success.
yeah.
I mean, you learn, right? And
Yeah.
you're like, it takes the same amount of effort and energy. Why not try to do something bigger? And also you appreciate the value of focus.
What do you mean?
Because I think it's like, okay, you want to work on a really big idea, but you don't want to do like 500 things. Like when you're younger, you have all this energy and you want to like chase down everything. Now you're like, okay, what are the 3 things that we need to do that'll really help solve this thing?
Do you think it comes with age, or do you think someone who's 20 can think like that too, or 25?
No, I think I've met some like younger entrepreneurs that just have it. They have that clarity and they kind of see the 3 things they need to do. But a lot of it comes with experience. I think for me, it was definitely with experience.
So you said in the beginning, I did whatever it takes. I try different things. Now I can not waste energy on things that are not serving or in the pursuit of the solution that I'm looking for.
Yeah, you spend more time thinking about what those things are. And so instead of trying to, and that, your time is limited, your team's time is limited. I mean, that's a finite resource. So how are you utilizing those resources to move something forward? And what is a noise and distraction, and what is really kind of core, and saying no to everything else. Like that took me a while to sort of figure out.
Okay. Were you financially in a comfortable place when you started the company?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was, enough to like say, I'm going to take a risk with this and finance that acquisition and some of that.
No, the reason, here's why I'm asking. I'm asking because one can hear you and say, okay, great, but he was rich. So he can take his time thinking about the solution. I'm young, I'm scrappy, I'm broke. I need to I need to do stuff all the time because I don't have the privilege of sitting there meditating on a problem, meditating, meaning like thinking about it, like not meditation from other perspective. Do you think it's possible to do it when you're scrappy, when you're like just out of college or just out of school, you don't have money, or you just...
I think even more reason to do it then, right?
Okay, explain to me.
But I think being scrappy and focused go really well together. Again, I think you do everything and you're scrappy, and that's not like you think about it, but you channel that energy in those 3 or 4 things that are going to have the biggest impact. Like when I was younger, I was just running around and doing a lot of things. And I only realized after that a majority of those things weren't productive. So I think the shift now is that I think more about what are those 3 or 4 things that'll have the biggest impact. And I'm like, I love working hard. I don't have, it's like putting in the effort and doing that. I think you have both.
How do you know if it's the right thing to think about or work on? Because you said when I was, you were young and you said, I was a hustler, right? That's kind of like
a hustler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But okay, it's a different kind of hustling, right?
Focused hustler.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so how did you know? Because you don't know what's going to work and what's not. So
yeah.
So
but
how do you know?
You go, so you have kind of this big vision of where you want things to go. But then we have this quarterly cadence. Like, so me and the team, we sit down for a whole day, once a quarter, and we come up with our priorities for the next quarter.
It's like a KPI is like a very clear, okay.
Yeah. And then, And I think that also is great because you walk out of that room completely aligned and you've agreed. And we, as a team, prioritize what those things are going to be for the next 3 months. So it's not just any one person's idea or decision. So there is some checks and balances in that to validate, like, are we working on the right things? And then, you're out in market every day. You're getting feedback from customers every single day. Is it working? Like, what do you like about working with us? What else? Who else is in the market? Like, we do these customer interviews that I love doing. We do about a dozen every quarter.
What do you actually do in them?
We listen. It's 30 minutes. And
you
we
go
have
to
some
clients who say, tell me.
Yeah, a lot of these are over Zoom. And
Yeah.
we'll just sit there and say, hey, want to hear from you in our area, like buying data. How do you buy data? How do you find companies that you want to work with? How do you...
So you're interviewing your own clients to see if there's a shift in the way they think?
Yeah, and you learn so much.
Yeah.
Every call we've done. And then going back to the AI thing, we have all these notes from all these calls. We built a whole database. And then we run it through Google's Notebook LM. And then you can ask questions.
Yes. Yeah.
You have new marketing positioning. You can be like, okay, how will our clients view this? Right? And you're getting feedback.
It's great.
It is pretty amazing.
Really cool. We had Ken Ohashi, the CEO of Brooks Brothers, on the podcast. And he said the same thing about fashion. And it's completely different, right? Like, because it seems to me like it boils down to the same thing. He says we have to predict the future. We have to, he gave the example, he looked at my blue shirt and he said, will this blue be relevant next season, right? Like
if you're wearing it, yes.
Maybe, right? Exactly. But you're doing the same thing. You're really listening. You're kind of guessing and listening to what the customer wants, and you change constantly what you're doing based on the feedback from them, right?
Yeah. I mean, we made it one of our core values. It's customer obsession. We just said, look, we're only going to be successful if we're obsessed about our customers. Like,
is it about the customer's experience, or what is, when you say obsession, what are you obsessed about?
The biggest thing I would say is really in understanding how are they getting value from this data and what happens with it. Like, not just saying, okay, we send them the data and that's it. Like, we want to understand the next 3 steps so we can anticipate the issues and how we should send it, like what makes their life easier, right? How are they, it's just at the end of the day, if they're getting value from this, how can they get more value from this? Like, what are their challenges? What makes their life difficult? I mean, it's like all this basic common sense stuff.
It's
but you lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
You get so caught up in all this strategy and this and the TAM and the market. These are the basics.
I'll tell you more. I'm thinking about, there's so many businesses, small businesses mainly. No, I would say only small businesses that I work with or I meet or I was part of, and they don't have the time to process data. And I think one of the biggest impact AI is going to do is give them the tool. So what they do is they confuse it with wisdom. So you have I give example, a restaurant owner. Restaurant owner who's been running an Italian restaurant for a long time. He knows, or she knows what, because she looks like most people order this pasta or that. She knows that this is the best pasta that sells the best, the whole thing, right? It's all wisdom. It's all inside of her. She doesn't really get obsessed by data from the customers. You said, look, and I think AI is going to lower the bar.
Yes.
Instead of just saying, let's count to that person because they've been doing it for 20, 30 years, let's just actually use existing tools to truly understand what the trends are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be amazing. Like, I have a friend who lives in Barcelona. He owns some restaurants, and we were just chatting about this a month ago. I was sharing with him what we're doing.
Yeah.
And he is now using the Google's Notebook LM and putting in data that they
from
already
his
had,
customers,
from his restaurant, from whatever systems they can pull it out of, and then evaluating that to understand the trends, understand like what's selling, where, like, I mean, you can make better decisions.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And you're right. I think it definitely lowers the bar. It makes it more accessible.
Yeah. When I ran a company, I was so busy with the day-to-day management, and just an example, we gave a questionnaire with a little Starbucks gift card to every buyers of our apartments because we want to get a feedback for them. Why did they buy it? I don't believe the brokers not because they lie, just because they have a very specific perspective and I don't know. So I don't know if it's because of the kitchens, because of the parking, because of the amenities, because the price was. I wanted to get. I have to tell you, I have done nothing with this data, and I collected hundreds of questionnaires because I was like, I got to hire someone to go through it. I was so busy running a company. I was like, I never got to it. I think now, if it was now, I just throw it into AI and say, what can you teach me for that? What could you learn from it? Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, but you have to fall in love with data, which I think
it's much easier to fall in love with data when you have great tools that will
and you see value. Right?
You see value immediately.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Cool. Okay. I wanna switch something else. You have an amazing story because I know you as a friend about how you started, and for me, I think it's amazing. So I'm gonna set you up. Okay.
Okay. Set me up.
Set you up to win, not set you up like to. So you went to Penn, right? And you started business after.
Yeah.
What was the first business?
Well, we started a few while we were at school.
Okay. Why?
So I grew up inspired by my grandfather to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And another friend, Samir, who's also had sort of this,
entrepreneur
passion.
Spirit.
We would sit around and talk about like starting businesses.
Wow.
Did
you study business at school? Is that why you spoke about it?
I was pre-med.
Pre-med?
But he studied business. I mean, a couple of my friends studied business. I also studied some business, marketing, communications. I was pre-med and took some courses in business as well. But it wasn't my major. But I was always just passionate about it. So we started just random things, like, that kids start. Like it was like a t-shirt company.
Yeah.
It was like some leather, like Filofaxes. It was like a knockoff of that.
You're dating yourself.
Exactly. It was like a knockoff of that.
Yeah.
We went and got some big order at Urban Outfitters. Like it was, and we'd start them. We made a few bucks, went to spring break.
Yeah.
And the company was done.
Yeah, exactly.
And started the next one.
It was just a way for you to pay the bills, basically.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
We learned so much.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the key. The key is that every time you've done it, whether you succeeded or failed, you learn something and you implement it in the next one. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Most people try once.
Yeah.
It fails. They have a closet full of whatever they bought, this discount that they're going to sell to everybody. And they're like, okay, I'm not a business person.
Yeah. I think getting past no and getting to yes and all the books you'll read, like the best is just get out there and try to sell something.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
But you kind of develop those skills.
Yeah, well, I think we do sales, everything. If you're dating, you're selling.
You are.
You are, absolutely.
Totally.
You're selling, selling yourself.
Selling yourself.
If you say,
if you're raising money, you're selling yourself.
Look, CEOs, I think 80% of their job is to sell.
Yeah.
To sell the vision with a public company, you sell the stock value in the future. If it's private equity or like to raise money, it's all sales. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so here you are in college.
So in
dorms,
college,
come up with ideas.
So we basically were like, okay, the whole digital thing was starting, and just right before the internet.
You mean like the .com world? Is like the 2000?
Right before, no, before that, like mid 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So all this
internet
analog,
started,
like everything was going from books and videos to digital. So CD-ROMs and DVDs and all like digitization of the world had started. Software was like starting to take off. And we were sitting around trying to see I see all these books here. Like we would look at some of these books and say like, what would make for a great software application? Or what would be a better way to consume that media? Let's say it's a textbook.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to understand from a textbook if you're looking at pictures, but if you had a video, like now it's like,
now it's no big deal, but then it was,
but back then it was like
20 years ago,
revolutionary.
30 years ago.
Yeah. So we had a couple of ideas. We had this one for this American Sign Language. We came up with this idea. We approached the company. That's a whole story.
We have plenty of time.
Okay. So we look at it, we try to call the company. I still remember it like yesterday. There was like the president's name was on there, and had
What
some
was it? A
photo.
book? So you took
was
a
a book.
textbook.
Yeah. So I
That
was
taught what was it teaching?
Yeah. So it was in Philly.
Mhm.
There was a Barnes and Noble right on Rittenhouse Square.
Yeah.
I'm there with this friend of mine, and we're like sitting around looking through all these books, and I come across this American Sign Language book, and I'm like looking through it. And
So they
all
were trying to teach
teach
sign
American
language
Sign Language in a book.
It's like teaching swimming in a book. You know, it's
Exactly.
like,
you couldn't understand, if the hand was going to the right or the left, or like, these figures were impossible to understand. So we're like, if this was in a multimedia application,
you probably
would
didn't use the
be-
word multimedia 30 years ago. Like
Yes,
it was in a video or
exactly.
something.
I remember
it was
it
on
like
TV.
yesterday,
Like
exactly.
VCR.
So we basically approached the company.
So you saw the name in the book.
Yeah,
You said, "I'm
saw
gonna
the
call
name.
them."
Yeah, decided to call them. I remember I asked for the president. His name was in the book. And some woman answered the phone. She said he was in a meeting. And I was like, I didn't leave a message. I was like, kind of, whatever. I just hung up.
You're 21 years old. How old are you?
Yeah, like 22 probably. And this friend of mine who's sitting next to me, he's like, why didn't you leave a message? Just call him again. Call him again. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Let's wait it for a little bit. I called him again. And then I'm like, yeah, is Mr. So-and-so there? And he goes, speaking.
He answered the phone this time. Yeah.
So then anyway, I kind of pitched him this idea. He was very intrigued. We said, hey, we can come down there next week and show you a demo.
You didn't have a demo.
We didn't have anything. We asked him to send us a couple of videos.
Oh, he had videos already.
Yeah, he had videos already. He said, we looked at their catalog. They were selling books and videos.
Okay.
So the pitch was that we can combine the book and the videos and create this multimedia application. So anyway, they sent us some videos. I was like technical enough to be dangerous. So there was some applications back then. I think it was called Macromedia or something. We used that. We digitized the videos, chopped them up, and created today it's like a PowerPoint type thing, but it was all functional. You could click on things.
Interactive.
But it was very shallow. It was like 1 or 2 clicks in. That's it.
Yeah. Because you knew he's not going to look further, right? You were hoping at least.
No, but it was a demo.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So for a demo, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So did all that, took it down there, we put it on the computer, and they were just blown away. They had never seen anything like it.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. Never seen anything like it. And 2 weeks later, we signed a contract.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out how much can it possibly cost to build this thing. We padded it up. We're going to do a 50-50 on the costs and on the revenues. And we didn't have any money to put into it.
Yeah.
They ended up funding most of the development. We put in our sweat equity, and then we launched this thing. It was pretty amazing.
First of all, it's an incredible story. That's why I love it. It's such a good story. But there's a few things I want to take away from it and kind of break it to smaller understandings or insights. One is, it seems like there's a pattern. You see a problem and you're like, I have no idea. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. That's not very common. Would you say that that's a path that you keep on doing? Like you see a problem, you're like, I'm going to try to solve it. Okay, fine.
I thought isn't that how?
No, most people don't. Actually, I think that's a rarity. I think that most people don't. I'll say people double down on what they're good at. Say, oh, I'm a good cook. So let me open a restaurant. I'm a good thing. Or I love drinking. Let me open a bar. I work out a lot. Let me develop some workout clothes or some machines. It's not like here's a problem to solve. I think that's one thing. The second thing is that you're unstoppable. You're like, look, I've got to pick up. Whether your friend kicked your butt making that phone call. And I'm sure you were scared, right? I mean, you're 21 and you're also faking it. You're like lying to the guy, basically, right?
Lying is a pretty strong word.
But isn't it? You didn't tell the truth.
No, we said we would create a demo.
Okay, fine.
Say
right.
I had a demo.
Sorry. Okay, I take it back. Okay, you didn't lie about it. Well, most people are too scared.
We embellished our capabilities.
Yes, exactly. Well, everybody does that. Now it's like a culture. I always make jokes that no one is longer a barista. They're like, the head of beverages. For like everything is so over the top now. So everybody does that. Yeah. But the willingness to take the risk, because you could have been flat, like fall on your face. You're like, completely failed, right? What was, okay, so that's why I want to unmask.
Yes.
How did you go beyond the fear of making complete fool of yourself?
Yeah, I think there was some belief that we could do it. So after I graduated, I worked for this other company for like 9 months.
Yeah.
It's like, twice I've had a job for exactly 9 months.
Yeah.
So that was once. But I got exposed to a lot of this there. This is a company called Intermedia. It was started by a couple of guys that had also Penn guys. It was a tech company focused more on education and entertainment. And they weren't really interested in healthcare. I was interested in healthcare. So I was exposed to it enough. But even beyond that, like I think this is like maybe one of these things that you just believe that you can solve something. And again, you could fail, but if you're willing to live with the failure, then what's the real risk?
Is that the advice you're going to give someone? If someone came to you and said, Sundeep, you're successful, you're older now, I get stopped by failures. What would you tell them? How do they go beyond the failure?
I think, I know you and I have talked about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You have to believe that you can succeed. Otherwise, you'll never succeed, right? Like if you go into it with a mindset that I'm going to fail at this, then you don't even have a shot.
Well, I think that we're human beings. You got to have the compassion for yourself to have those thoughts. I'm going to fail.
Absolutely.
But don't give it too much weight.
Yeah. I think in your mind, you have to say, okay, yes, failure is a possibility, but what's
the upside?
It's much you're focused on solving the problem and you're going to put in everything you have to solve the problem. And by the way, that's not, I still think like that. When I was younger, like, I think a lot of the confidence came from just not even knowing enough. Like you didn't even know where you could fail.
Yeah. Ignorance is the bliss. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think now you obviously more experience, you know more, but I think the belief that you can succeed at something, it has to be there, especially in a leadership role. You have a whole team that's working with you on something. And part of your job is to not only believe it yourself, you have to convince them as well that you can succeed at it and you will succeed at it. Yeah. But I think everybody knows that, of course, 90% of the companies fail, right? Like we've nearly failed so many times, even in this adventure. But the core belief that you're solving something big and you can make it is what drives me, I think drives the team. And you have to tackle a problem that's big enough that it's worth solving. And if you fail along the way, then you're going to learn. It's not what is failure, I guess.
No,
if you're learning from it, right?
Yes, what I hear, what I like about this conversation is it sounds to me like a very scientific way of looking at it. Like, there's a reason why you love healthcare, because your relationship to failure is very different than other people. You say, look, it's part of the process. It's an illusion to think that you're not going to fail. Like if you're developing a drug, you will be doing experiments again and again and again and again. You're going to have all those tests and all those things, and and the nature of it, you will fail, right? Yeah. And it seems to me that's something you had from a very young development as a business person, saying, look, I'm going to fail, but the upside is worth the failure. Yeah. And there's something very playful about the way you talk about it, because you do like, oh, I'm a failure. I failed doesn't mean I'm a failure. Just like you didn't succeed. You didn't take it. You didn't inhale it.
I failed at many things.
Yes.
But I think if you learn from it, then you keep moving forward. But the success is the learning and achieving, whatever you're trying to go after.
Okay, that's I love that optimistic way to end the conversation. So I have one last question.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know, having 2 kids in college, seeing the tsunami of change, good, bad tsunami of change, what would you say is the thing to learn or work on? It doesn't have to be learn like what's the degree you should get, but also what's the thing if someone young has to focus on something, what do you think will be something people should focus on?
I think it's how we interact with people.
Really?
And each other. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I think
I would not expect that answer.
Yeah.
It's much more,
Because that, especially with all the things that are happening right now with AI and more automation and everything becoming virtual, I think being kind and empathetic and understanding people and connecting with people and inspiring, like all of those things, like I think we're going to crave that human interaction and connection more and more. I mean, I see it, it's interesting. Like I like in real life.
Yes, but maybe because we're old.
Maybe.
I'm always asking myself, like, I'd rather have a conversation than text. My kids rather text.
I mean, there are plenty of people like our generation that are in their phones all the time too.
Yes, correct.
I mean, my parents' generation, I think that, I don't know, it's just the satisfaction you get of sitting with someone, hanging out.
So it doesn't really matter what they
nice
study in
meal.
college or something. You're saying what's important thing, whatever you do, make sure that you really strengthen your EQ.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Your
Like
ability
just
to
how
listen, to hear, to connect.
Yeah, connecting with people. Like I think that's like,
Which, by the way, brings us to what we spoke about earlier about sales, because a great salesperson is not someone who's like a old cars, used cars salesperson, just pushing you because there's a reason why those places disappearing now. It's actually the ability to listen to the need of the other person, whether it's in relationship, in business, etc.
Completely.
You see, we
have nothing.
Yeah, exactly. We started this conversation about business, and we always end with like spiritual and connection. That's amazing. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you for
anything
having
I did not cover? Anything I did not say?
So many things.
Exactly. Perfect. Well, you gotta come show up again.
You were amazing.
Thank you very much. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Sundeep. Playbook. Distance. There's always a distance between what you want and what you have. It's the nature of humans, especially it's the nature of someone who wants to build a business or want to be successful with anything. It can be with a relationship, but there's always a distance. Here you are, and you're seeing something ahead of you that you want to get to. It's kind of like the greyhound running after that rabbit. And most of us get very frustrated by it. They say, I really want to be at X and I'm not there yet. I really got to work hard to get to that place. I want to suggest a different way of looking at it. I want to suggest falling in love with that gap, with that distance. Understand that the nature of people is they're always going to have a distance between what they're expecting and what's going to happen. They always have a distance, expectation. Oh, I'm going to dinner tonight. I'm looking forward to it, right? There's a distance between you actually having the meal and preparing to go there. The same with business. I want to make X amount of money, but I'm not there yet. Most people, again, are frustrated by that. Understand it's the nature. That's how we operate. We always look at the gap and we always look at the distance and we want to close that distance. That distance is never going to close. It's like that greyhound is never going to catch up to the rabbit, because the moment they catch up to the rabbit, they're done. And you're never going to be done. You're going to keep on looking to close the distance. That's the fun, but that's also the challenge in life. You're always going to have this distance. So look for yourself. Where in your life you have a distance between what you want and what you have. And instead of getting frustrated about it, fall in love with that gap. That's where creativity comes. That's where fun happens. It's like, how can I develop myself? How can I develop my team? How can I develop my business to close the gap? Knowing that you're never going to close the gap. Because when you suddenly make $1 million, you want $2 million. When you make $10 million, you want $50 million. When you have this size of a team, you want a bigger size of a team. When you have this success, you want bigger size. You're never going to close the distance. Fall in love with the gap. That's Playbook.